And actually, if you have the Bible app on your phone, that's the church that put it out. It's a free app. Very, very useful. Millions of people have it. It's wonderful. But he has a church down called LifeChurch.tv. He's written several books, and WEiRD is one of them. And I want to ask you a question as we begin this morning. And I'm going to ask for participation. I usually don't try to embarrass you. I won't embarrass you, but I'm going to ask you a couple questions here, and I need you to participate. This is one time, please. I beg you, I plead with you. Okay. How many of you would like to be called WEiRD? That doesn't surprise me. People raise their hand. Eli raises it, just a big smile. How many of you would like to be called normal? Okay. Some people don't raise their hand too long. You know, it depends on the situation, it really does. You know, when you're different situations in life, when somebody approaches you and says, well, that's normal to feel that way. Well, that's normal to think that. Sometimes it makes us feel good because we don't feel like we're the oddball in the crowd. Well, like in a doctor's office. Well, it's normal if you have those symptoms. It's normal if this is happening to you. Sometimes that makes us feel okay. When I was in college, I went to the doctor about something, and he came in and he was looking through his reports for the report on me, and he looks at me and says, well, you're normal. And I just laughed. And I'm like, don't even ask. Never had a doctor come and tell me, you're normal. Anything but. It was just a funny moment. None of us wants to be called weird. But when we think of God's command, Jesus' command to us, that we are aliens in this world. We are not of this world. We're in it, but not of it. We're supposed to be weird. We're supposed to be set apart. And this whole book, we're going to be talking about the topics today of time. Next week, we're going to be talking about values, being weird about values. The next week, weird about money, financial sermon. And the last week, we're going to be talking about weird about relationships. Those are 4 topics from the book that I'm going to hit. He writes this book by looking at the world and its standards and saying, there's so much, oh, that's normal, that's okay, go with the flow. He's saying, no. God calls us to go against that flow, as hard as that is to do, because going against it makes you uncool. It makes you stand out. It makes you be a nerd. Pocket protector or whatever, glasses. Hey, I'm a nerd. That's how the world views us when we go with God. You find yourself maybe in a situation where you're the only one that maybe has morals. Ooh, that's tough. That's tough. And that's going to kind of go along with, values. Is that, the values we have in life. And we'll touch more on that next week. WEiRD was the first book I read from Craig Rochelle. And when I read it, I thought, wow, this guy is funny. Very sarcastic. If you have a chance, you can buy the book, I'm sure, on Amazon or another website. I think it's maybe around $10 or something. So if you're interested in that, let me know. I can try to look that up for you. But after reading this book, it challenged and totally changed my perspective about how we so easily adapt to the normal way of life, the normal world around us. And I appreciate how he explains that we need to be weird in a normal world. That sounds weird, doesn't it? Sorry, I just had to say that. It sounds different. Like, well, I want to be normal. I don't want to be a freak. No, we're not called to be that. But looking at the world with standards and what the world does, we are called to be set apart. Called to be set apart and to be different. The messages of this series explain how we need to be weird and different. And how we view the areas of time, values, money, and relationships. And these topics are important to focus on as we learn how to be better set apart and different from the rush of this world. That's a big word, the rush of this world. Today we begin with how we need to be weird about our time. We all seem to be, no matter who you are, no matter what age you are, probably different maybe if you're in a full-time job and you're not retired yet, but everybody gets into this trap of rush. And that's the first thing I want to hit on today, is the trap of rush. It seems that's all the world is now. Any of you and your families feel like you don't have time to breathe, let alone sit down with your family to eat. Spending time, you just feel like you're constantly wearing yourself down. I do a lot, a whole lot. And we get used to that. And we would have to admit that many of us have not most are caught up in this rush mindset. Constantly, on the go, got to do something. As much as we would like to say and believe we want want to calm things down and settle. You hear people say, well, next week things should settle down. Next week things should return to normal. Does that ever happen? No. As many people as I've talked to said, oh, when this gets over, when the kids' activities get over, things will calm down a little bit. And little does that ever happen. Very often, very seldom does that ever happen. Mostly something else comes up to make us busy. In most of my conversations with other people, the usual response to the question, how are things going? Crazy, busy, crazy, busy. I hear that all the time. And you know what? I stand too. Busy, crazy, busy. Those are the two phrases, the two answers I hear so much. I wish I could slow down. I wish I had time to breathe. I wish I could just slow life down. We can't. All of us have 24 hours, 7 days a week, 365 days out of the year. God doesn't give one person one more hour in the day than he does others. Sometimes we wish we had another 3 or 4 hours. I joke with people, boy, if I just had another 3 or 4 hours a day, then I could get everything done. No. But we wish we could do that. And ironically, as much as we want things to settle down, we kind of want to keep up that busy lifestyle we're so used to living. Something seems wrong if we have a little time on our hands. We seem wrong to say, oh, I'm not really doing anything right now. The person, oh, well, I can put you to work. Oh, I didn't mean that. I found myself saying busy, crazy, busy so much when people ask me that question. There seems to be something productive and satisfying about saying that. When we say, well, I'm busy, I'm very busy, there seems to be something productive. Well, after this, I've got this to do. After this, I've got this to do. Maybe your job, trying to impress your boss, your family, just to, so that nobody will bug you about doing something else. Okay, I got to say this so nobody will tack another thing on my schedule. Maybe we're trying to relieve ourselves from that. And I would honestly feel strange telling someone, well, I've had a pretty relaxing day, or a pretty relaxing week. I honestly would feel strange. I almost said weird. I should say weird. That's the title of the series. I would just feel a little weird and strange saying, I've had a pretty relaxing day. Of course, the other person would say, well, it must be nice. Great, wonderful. Then you get into a conversation where the person lays all their troubles on you. We're in that busy, rushed lifestyle. It's crazy a lot of times. If I said that to somebody, I would feel as though I'm not working hard enough or dealing with any challenges. And if I said, oh, I'm pretty relaxed today, which a lot of times I'm not, just the type of person that I have become, on the go, gotta do something, gotta keep doing it. Most of us live with a very busy lifestyle. We have families to support, many other responsibilities and activities that we're involved with, we take part in. We often seem to be rushing here and there, taking care of different things, and we want to be productive. We want to be very productive. We have different activities that we're involved with, tasks that we have agreed to take on, and a lot of us don't know the word no. We keep saying yes and putting more things on the agenda. Well, they need me. I gotta say yes. My mom finally came to a point many years ago where she told somebody no, and she said the person got passed out. Because my mom was one of those people, yes, all the time. She'll do anything for anybody. And she finally just told somebody no. And what's wrong with you? You never say no. Well, I'm going to start. And things got a lot better for her because she said no to something. Instead of saying yes and dragging yourself more down. A lot of times we're busy with preparations, something for work, for church, home, or some volunteer organization. And there's nothing wrong with being busy with those things. We need to be productive. No one's going to get anywhere by sitting on the couch at home, being a couch potato, and watching TV all day and eating food all day. Nobody's going to be healthy from that. We need to get out and be productive. But we've got to have a balance. You see, the world's in a constant rush mode. Sadly, we have bought into that life and find ourselves molding right into the common, busy, and rushed lifestyle. We're becoming just like the world. We are, slowly. That's how Satan works, little by little. He finds ways that we can compromise and give in and be like, well, everybody else is doing, everybody else is busy, that's productive. I need to be busy as well. And again, being busy is not wrong, but we've got to have balance. I want to be very clear in saying that, is that busy can be productive, can be very, very good. You wouldn't go to a job and sit on a chair all day and expect to get paid for that. The boss would say, what What are you doing? Sitting there, I'll pay somebody else. Get out of here, you're fired. You wouldn't be there long. Hope that doesn't happen to you. But a boss wants you to work hard and to do the work that you're called to do. But, it's how we manage and balance the busy lifestyle with our family that is extremely important. It's all about balance. Productivity is great, but there must be balance. When I consider the busy lifestyle, the balance that we need to have in life, the story of Jesus at the home of Mary and Martha always comes to my mind. Just one of those stories that always springs in my mind. And it's a great remembrance to us of busy and time and how we need to make way for things. If you turn with me to the book of Luke, the book of Luke, chapter 10, verses 38 through 42. Luke 10, 38 through 42. As Jesus and his disciples were on their way, he came to a village where a woman named Martha opened her home to him. She had a sister called Mary, who sat at the Lord's feet to what he said. But Martha was distracted by all the preparations that had to be made. She came to him and asked, Lord, don't you care that my sister has left me to do all the work by myself? Tell her to help me. I think she was a little angry. Just a bit. Exclamation mark there. So I think she was a little bit angry. Martha, Martha, the Lord answered, you are worried and upset about many things, but only one thing is needed. Mary has chosen what is better and will not be taken away from her. Oh, I bet that didn't make Mary too good. I bet that didn't make her too happy. Martha was probably steaming red, just the blood boiling, and maybe she had a wood spoon in her hand from the kitchen. Don't tell me that, Jesus. I don't know, maybe she did, but I can imagine she was just like, you're telling me what? I'm going to emphasize here again that busy with preparations is not wrong. If somebody comes over and you want to put on a meal for them, you're going to take time to make the preparations. Thanksgiving, I don't know, any family, any grandma, grandpa, mom, dad, usually I think it's the ladies making the meals, but, dads do too. But, Thanksgiving time, if you see anybody just, sitting in a chair not doing anything, no, they're making preparations for the food for family. It's important to have those preparations. However, when we allow the rush mentality to take over and consume us, we have a tendency to remain in that mode, and we rarely slow down to enjoy downtime. We're like in this locked mode. I've got to go, I've got to do it, I've got to do, I've got to do, I've got to do, and we're locked in it. And somehow we can't escape out of it. When this happens, we become much less aware of what's going on around us. And you see, Mary chose to sit at Jesus' feet and escape the rush mentality. Well, Martha became quite aggravated at her sister's hard time. Tell her to get up. Tell her to get up and do something. Tell her to get up and help me with the business. And then Jesus calms her down. Whoa, hold on. She's chosen what's better. What? This isn't important? The situation at hand was more important. She just wasn't realizing that. You see, there are times when we must break out of and escape that busyness mode and make time for people who deserve our attention. That's hard for us, especially parents at home, that stuff's always going on with work and whatnot, and the kids are pulling our sleeve. Daddy, Mommy, we look at this, we pay attention to this. In a minute, in a second, I need to get this done. Boy, that just seems to be a common response. And even as I said to my kids, I think, I need you to stop what I'm doing and pay attention to them for 1 to 2 minutes, just to show them that I care. It's so easy to get attracted to that. We need to give our undivided attention to, first and foremost, God, to family, and to friends. God comes first. Our family is very, very important. Nothing can replace God. He needs to be first and foremost. We cannot be conformed to the pattern of this world, which encourages us to stay busy, become even busier, and to take on more, because then that will drain us and will suck the life right out of us. We will feel completely, totally drained. You have those days when you come home, you have nothing left, and you know your spouse needs something, your kids need something, but you are completely depleted. You know mentally, I need to do this, but man, you just lay there, I just can't. I have no more energy left in me. I'm completely drained. The day has drained me completely. We're human beings. If we didn't feel like that, we wouldn't be human. We wouldn't. We feel depleted sometimes. If you turn with me to the book of Romans, Romans chapter 12, verses 1 and 2. Paul is talking here about being living sacrifices. Romans 12, 1 through 2. Therefore, I urge you, brothers, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as living sacrifices, holy and pleasing to God. This is your spiritual act of worship. Do not conform any longer to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, His good, pleasing, and perfect will. When I focus on verse 2 there, it makes me realize if I conform to the world, I cannot offer myself to God. If I am not conforming to the world, I can offer myself to God. So we go from verse 2 to back to verse 1. You see how that works? If we're conforming to the world, we can offer ourselves to God because we're conforming to the world. But if we're in tune with God, we will conform to Him. We will. We'll leave the worldly ways. It can't happen both ways. You can't follow the world and be in tune with God. You can't. It's impossible. You know, a lot of things we try not to say are impossible. That is impossible. If we're in tune with the world and going with the way of the world, we cannot offer our bodies to the Lord completely. We can't say, okay, Lord, you have all of me. Now I'm going to do this for the rest of the day or for the week. It doesn't make sense to God. Okay, you're surrendering to me, but now you're going to go off and do this. It doesn't work that way. We have to be completely surrendered to God. And Paul is encouraging us here, if we want to be successful in life, to not conform to the world. Yes, we need to work hard to provide for our families, be involved with different activities and opportunities. However, we must realize and understand there's got to be balance. Where's the line for that balance? I can't show you. I can't tell you. I can't draw a line and say, okay, this needs to be here, this needs to be here. And this is how it needs to be all the time. I can't draw that line for you. Everybody's different. Every family is different in dealing with that. And you have to sit down as a family and discuss how do we do that. And it's a daily thing, making the balance happen. We cannot please God and be an offering to Him if we're conformed to the world. And balance is hard today. It is so incredibly hard. Craig Rochelle shares about how we need to learn to put a limit on the things we are involved with in our lives. That's tough. You got kids involved with this, and we're involved with that. And, it's hard to say, okay, what do we take away? And it's not, don't say, okay, kids, you're done with school activities, you're done, no more. Not that drastic, but taking a look and seeing maybe something you can cut out, something you can do away with it. Instead of doing this and that, we need to instead consider doing this or that. Give options, not say, okay, because you want to do that, you do both of those things. It wears the kids out. I've seen it many times. It's hard to say no, though. We think about things for the kids to be involved with, and think, oh my gosh, is that going to wear them out? What should we do? When should we do it? How often should we do it? And it's not clear, like, oh, they should do that and that. It's hard to balance it out. We often want to choose and instead of or on deciding things. We want to be involved with so much, but spreading ourselves so thin is not wise. It's never wise to do that. We end up completely worn out, depleted, and we lose quality time for our growth in God and with family and friends. We give so much during the day, which is great to be dedicated to your boss, to your work. It's wonderful to be dedicated to that. But we also need to realize that we're serving the Lord. If we're depleting ourselves and we go home to a family and have nothing left, something maybe needs to be different. Maybe we're not getting able to sleep, eating right. Something is out of balance. Something is out of balance. And we want to be productive, and we don't want to drain ourselves completely. And we're productive when we're busy many times, but we're not called to live a rush lifestyle that consumes us and takes us away from quality time with God and others we love and care about. And I really love how Craig talks in this book about being set apart in that way. Because this time issue affects every person, everywhere. There's not anybody who is not consumed with the rush. Everybody. Everybody here is in one way or another. Even if you're retired, you're still in that because you plan things to do. And it's so easy to get caught up in it. Oh, I need to do one more thing. I need to do one more thing. When a lot of times our bodies are telling us, could you just chill for a little bit? Give me a little bit of rest, and then what happens? We get sick. Wonder why I'm sick? I've only been going 100 miles an hour for the past week. I wonder why I'm sick. Even when we are with friends and family, it's often easy to be there physically. This is important. We can be with family physically, but we're not all there mentally. You ever been somewhere and you're completely right here, but you're nowhere close mentally. You're off in another world, or you're still at your job. Very, very easy to do. You can be in a crowd of family and friends and still not be all there. And this is another part of the book that was really cool that Craig talks about. Be all there when you're all together. It's great to have family time together, but if mentally we're not there, then it's not really any better. Maybe physically our bodies are there, but it's kind of that, okay, in a minute, I'll get to it in a minute. Let me finish this up, let me finish that up. So basically, you're physically there with the people that you love, but you're still off in your own world. And Craig explains how often, he has a very hard time getting away from his work and being focused on his family, shutting down his work world from his mind. Since he's a pastor, I find myself relating very well to how he feels and what he describes. But you don't have to be in a church ministry position to experience this. This can apply to anyone who has a job, is consumed with work, and has a difficult time completely breaking away when with family. Craig shares that his wife has asked him many times, Craig, I know you've got a lot going on with the church work, but when you're with us, can you please be all here? Please, just completely be devoted to us. And that hits home with me, and probably for many of you as well. As a pastor, one thing I struggle with very, very much is trying to shut my mind down and focus on my wife and kids when I'm away from my daily work. Yes, I'm always on call. Yes, I never stop being a minister. But there's times when I have to break away and I have to be with my family and I have to focus on them, and that is hard. I'm constantly ask my wife. I sit down for 5 minutes. I got to do something else. Sit down and relax for a little while. But I got to do this. Something comes to mind. If I don't do it, I forget. I don't like that, but I'm like, if I don't do that, I'll forget. And sometimes when I sit down for about 10 minutes, I fall asleep for an hour. I'm like, how did that happen? My body was finally relaxing and needed it. And poof, I'm gone. Wow, I guess I needed that now, which I don't nap very often. But our bodies will tell us when we need to shut down. I try hard to focus on having fun with my family, spending quality time there. All too often, I want to quickly check my phone. I want to see if there's new texts, emails. I want to see if there's new missed calls. And it's like, I just got to check it really quick. And see, that's what we've gotten into. Instead of putting, that life away for a little bit, we have to let me just check this really quick. And then what does that tell the family? What does that tell people we love? You're important, but let me take care of this really quick. Let me take care of this. And then we get into it, and we're giving the message, you're important, but let me finish this thing right now. Let me finish this. We have to be completely all there. And when I'm doing this, I often think, what example am I setting for my kids or for my wife? Am I telling them, really, I love you and you're important to me? No, I'm not. I need to completely break away. Those things can wait. There are times when I just have to be with them and do my best to put away any other thoughts and just have fun with them and be wise in the way I'm acting toward them. They're a priority and they need to remain that way. Family is important. Don't ever lose that. Family is so, so important. God is first and your family is second. Your family has to be important. Very, very important. Return with me to the book of Ephesians. Ephesians chapter 5. Ephesians 5, 15 through 17. Ephesians 5, 15 through 17. Be very careful then how you live, not as unwise but as wise, making the most of every opportunity, because the days are evil. Therefore, do not be foolish, but understand what the Lord's will is. Making the most of every opportunity. How bad we have gotten at that. How bad we have become in that. Making the most of everything that we have. It's so easy for us to get caught up in things. If we were more conscious about how we live and aware of the things that we do, if we almost had this is going to sound weird, out-of-body experience, and we could watch ourselves from a distance and see what we're doing. Wow, I really do that? I do that every day? I do that? I act that way? We would be, wow, we need to change some things. I need to make some changes in my life. I believe our priorities would be arranged completely different. The Apostle Paul says to make the most of every opportunity. There are many opportunities we fail to take advantage of because we're so consumed with our to-do lists and various distractions all around. Distractions are numerous nowadays, especially with the technology world. It's become really cool, but very distracting. And a lot of us get caught up into that. I'm guilty of it. I love technology. I love gadgets. I don't know why. I think it's because my mom and dad were computer teachers. No idea. But I've always been into just technology and gadgets. They can be fun, but they can completely drain you and pull away from what's really important. There's distractions everywhere, and we just need to realize the proper time to do certain things. You know, we often miss the opportunities around us, the people that need our attention. Turn with me to James, if you would. Book of James. Book that we're actually studying in a small group. Great book. Very good book. James 4:13-15. Now listen, you who say, today or tomorrow, we will go to this city or that city, spend a year there, carry on business, and make money. Why? You don't even know what will happen tomorrow. What is your life? You are a mist that appears for a little while and then vanishes. Instead, you ought to say, if it is the Lord's will, we will live and do this or that. As it is, you boast and brag. All such boasting is evil. Anyone then who knows the good you ought to do doesn't do it sins. I read a couple more verses there. But you don't even know. Your life is a mist. It's a complete mist. It's temporary. You're not promised the next day. You're not promised the next moment. You're not. Take advantage of now. Don't get so caught up with everything and being so consumed with everything that we have to do and forget that we're not even promised the future. We're not. Take advantage of today. Planning is important, but when we become so focused on the future, we miss today. We miss the little things God is trying to teach us today. We're robbed of those opportunities that await us. And it's easy to become addicted to the busy, rushed lifestyle that entangles so many of us. It becomes an addiction. You know, we don't like that word addiction. Like, I don't like that. I'm not addicted to anything. Yeah, we are. We're addicted to business. We are. Maybe we're not addicted to, all kinds of, other things that people are, drugs, alcohol, or whatnot. But maybe we are addicted to a rushed lifestyle. I think we are. It becomes an addiction that we have to break. And we must break that addiction. And none of us wants to admit an addiction if we have one. We're not going to go, yeah, I have an addiction. Nobody's going to happily say that. We all get addicted to things and we make jokes about it. Wow, you spend a lot of time doing that. You're consumed with that. And we joke about it. Some new fad idea or gadget comes along and becomes the new craze for a while. And that's all we can think about. We're consumed with it. And we know how that is. As kids, we get a toy, man, we play with that thing all day long. Sometimes we don't even go to bed till late at night. I see kids now, they're so excited about a game that comes out. I was like that when I was a kid. Now, adults get excited about something that looks like a kid in a candy store. Oh, I can't wait, I can't wait. It's good to get excited. It's wonderful. But that excitement needs to go to an extent. We got to realize, okay, is this completely consuming me? Is this an addiction to me now? We got to be careful about those things and make sure that God remains important. When we become addicted to things, it takes us away from the family, from the friends, time alone with God. And we become weak and with a greater inability to think clearly. We really do. In Matthew, if you turn with me to the book of Matthew, Matthew chapter 11. Matthew 11, 28-30. Jesus has some words for those who are weary. Matthew 11, 28-30. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me. For I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy, my burden is light. You see, the invitation isn't just for people who are in pain and hurting. It's for those who are weary and they're so wrapped up in their chaotic life, the world, that they need to just slow down and rest. If we don't slow down and take that rest, we're going to run ourselves dry. We do. We do that a lot. I've experienced it many times. And then I wonder why I'm weak, because I haven't taken proper care of myself. Jesus wants us to rest. Be weird. Tell somebody you can't do something, you rest. No, I can't do that today. I'm going to sit home and do nothing. What? You crazy? I need you. I know, I need rest. Can I please rest for a day? Don't wait till your body tells you by pneumonia or the flu or whatever else. Don't let your body have to tell you that. Be smart and think, you know what, maybe I need to take a few hours today and just be by myself. And people have asked me before, well, is that selfish? No! Take the time to be by yourself. If you're doing it all the time, that's another problem. God didn't call us to be lazy, but He called us to give ourselves rest. He rested. That should be an example to us. He rested. We need rest. Don't be normal and continue to drive yourself to the ground. I find myself relating well to Craig as he shares about his struggles and resting and how he needs to constantly be doing something. I'm that way too. Since I've become full-time here, I notice it's very hard for me to sit down and relax, like I said earlier. I always have thoughts running through my mind. I always think of something else I need to do. And a lot of times I'm just, doing something. I'm like, you know what, I really need to be with my family right now. But it's hard to shut it down. And when I've realized, and I need to be reminded about it every day, is that my family desperately needs me. Too often when I'm home for a bite to eat, I'm off to the next thing, and I don't take advantage of those little opportunities to be with them. God commands us to rest. And you know what? It feels great when you actually sit down and just let your body thaw and relax. Wow, that's how that feels? Amazing, God. Can that happen more often? Yes, it can. But you got to say no to some things. You got to know when the balance is. Time. Time is precious. God tells us a little bit about time. If we go all the way back to the Old Testament, maybe the last scripture I shared with you this morning. Exodus chapter 20, verses 8 and 11, and the Ten Commandments. I just thought I'd say it that way. Verses 8 through 11. Remember the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. 6 days they shall labor, do all your work. But the seventh day is the Sabbath to the Lord your God. On it you shall not do any work, neither you, nor your son or daughter, nor your manservant or maidservant, nor your animals, nor the alien within your gates. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the sea and all that is in them. But he rested on the seventh day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and made it holy. God's saying, rest. Stop running yourselves into the ground 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You need to rest. You need to rest. If somebody asks you to do something, tell them you're having family time. Tell them you need that rest. You need to slow down. And if you find yourself constantly consumed with the craziness of the world, you need to be weird about it and go against the flow of that rush mentality. Instead of trying to take time to do this and that, do this or that. Do something different and don't lose that valuable time with your family. This past week, the timing of this is just a God thing. Bill Heibels is a preacher and author, and he wrote this devotional app on the YouVersion Bible app called Simplify. I started it the other day. The first 2 days I'm thinking, wow, God, your timing is awesome. So I'm going to read these two today as we close. And it's titled From Exhausted to Energized, Replenishing Your Energy Reserves. Can you recall a time when you were replenished and filled up? When you were living soulfully, restfully, creatively, lovingly, playfully, and prayerfully? My guess is you can recall a handful of such times in your life. I can recall such times too. And increasingly they are becoming the norm rather than the exception as I seek to master the art of simplified living. It can be done. Hold on to that image for a second. Let's switch gears. Let's talk about times when you're depleted, toxically depleted. Your bucket is empty, you have nothing left to give. What does that feel like? When I ask people this question, no matter where I'm in the world, the first word that comes out of their mouths is resentment. They resent someone or something, just like Martha did in the story. I imagine her coming out of the kitchen. Shaking a wooden spoon and marrying Jesus. She was resentful. Jesus, don't you care? My sister's a deadbeat. We can't order takeout. Your disciples are mooches, and they never help with the dishes. Resentment? Ever feel it? I do. If you find yourself shaking that wooden spoon and telling God what to do, and you're mad at the world, maybe it's time for you to hear what God has to say to you. Let's sit down together. We've got some things to work out, you and me. You've lost a connection with me somewhere. You've lost your bearings on true north, and now you're just spinning. But I have a better plan. Your heart and mind yearn for an antidote to all the drivenness and busyness in our lives. The antidote isn't getting it all done in the kitchen, or the office, or the mall. The antidote is leaving that step, sometimes undone, to sit down for an unrushed conversation with Jesus. If you could have an honest conversation with Jesus in an unrushed setting, what are you talking about? And this other one, titled From Overscheduled to Organized, RSC Your Calendar's Power. I'm overscheduled. I don't have time. I'm too busy. I hear it from the guy next to me on the airplane, from the people I talk to at church. I hear it from friends, neighbors, and coworkers. Sometimes I hear it from my own lips. We say these words so often that we become immune to how repetitive they sound. Our schedules are packed tight. We couldn't slip a razor blade between appointments. We have no wiggle room, no margin, not a moment to spare, let alone an hour, a day, or a week. We almost brag about it. It makes us feel important. I am much too busy to do such and such. No time, no more pressing commitments. It feeds something unhealthy in us, and the cost is severe. What would it look like to see God's kingdom first in your life, as Jesus calls us to do in today's scripture? To begin with, take a look at your calendar, a runaway calendar that will keep you from simplifying your life. It holds you hostage to terrible things, tangible things, sorry. Meetings, appointments, and projects without giving proper priority to the intangibles. Who you are becoming in your relationship with family and friends. Your connectedness to God. Without conscious intervention, this pattern of chronically overscheduling ensures that the priorities you care about most likely will take a back seat to the urgent priorities of others every time. One way you can start is by redrafting your schedule and filling it up the way God would fill it if you were charged for time. Your schedule, your calendar. If you put God first, if you start by plugging in the time slots in your calendar and determine who you want to become, then fill in everything else around it, you'll gradually become the person you want to be. How would God have you spend your time today? And that's the question I want to leave with you today. How does God want you to spend your time? Does He want you to spend your time worn out and exhausted? We all